All right, so this is my first time streaming live. I have no idea how this works, so we'll see how it goes. Hi, everybody. My name is Coach also known as the Holy Hothead, and I am streaming my first live. So, welcome, welcome. If you are here, kind of hanging out with me, drop some comments. I don't think I can see them, but I will figure this thing out and we can talk. Um, this is my first kind of like live thing, I guess, that I've done. I have a school group, and my school group has been this is going to be posted in my school group. So I am playing around with it for today. So I posted in the I don't know, the heading or whatever there about going on what it means to be worthy AF. I have had this program for a number of years, and it has been it's been interesting talking to people about the book that I wrote. It's a journal prompts and a journal coaching program called Unapologetically Worthy AF. And when I talk to people about it, the level of anxiety that comes about is actually quite hilarious because Christian people can't say AF, right? Well, I am a Christian. I love God. I absolutely despise church culture. I am a micro church pastor and a coach for people who have experienced spiritual and religious trauma. And so, for those who have begun a deconstructing journey, you all know full well that along with the healing comes a little bit of intensity. You get angry because you start to realize how much of what you believed was not real and how much was not true and how much your heart was manipulated while you were serving God and others were taking advantage of it. And with that heat comes some spicy words sometimes. And so if you are comfortable with that, if that is normal to you, great. If it is uncomfortable, I pray that you'll lean into it. Not that I want you to like walk away from this live, cussing up a storm. Like that is not my goal. But I want you to sit with what it is that makes you uncomfortable because it's important. So let's talk about it. I am not scripted. I literally have absolutely no notes in front of me. I have YouTube in front of me because I'm trying to figure out how this works, but everything that's about to happen is coming out of my head. So we will see how this goes, and I might take it down later if I scare myself a little bit. But whatever. Yeah. So let's get started. So a couple years ago, I decided that I was going to do this program, Unapologetically Worthy AF. And truly, I thought that God had lost his mind. I know, doesn't really make sense, but whatever. I was adamantly trying my best to change the name. I'm like, there is not a Christian on this planet who is going to agree to do a program called Unapologetically Worthy AF. Forgive me if I fumble over unapologetic when I say that. Anywho. Um, and so so I sat on it for a minute. I prayed about it. I came up with other words. I was like, it doesn't mean AF the way you mean AF. It means and favored. I had a whole bunch of things that I would connect it to that had nothing to do with AF. But the more I was like, you know what? I feel like this is actually really what it needs to be. And so when I started talking about it, what I started realizing was my my journey through life and recovery like from anger and marriage trauma and spiritual abuse and all laced to my experience, right? And as a Black woman, the experience was a little bit different than it is for some others, right? When I looked at the spot that I occupy in the world, there is a lot of forces that are kind of at war with me and that are constantly saying, be smaller, be less, don't be so intense, don't be so big, don't think so much of yourself. You're not that important. Give more, serve more, do for other people because other people are more important than you. That was like the messaging, right? And then within the context of my marriage, when my marriage was not in a good place, I wasn't looking at my husband like, oh my gosh, you suck, you horrible, and you did all these bad things to me. He was not violent or anything like that. Story for another day. Matter of fact, go check out the podcast. Talk about all of that there. Um, but as we were struggling, I took on all of the responsibility. I wasn't neat enough. I didn't make sure that our kids were taken care of enough, though I totally did. I wasn't fit enough. Like I gained weight after having our 4 9-pound babies. And so clearly something was wrong with me because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't supportive enough. I wasn't meek and quiet and docile enough. I continually beat myself up, telling myself that I wasn't doing something right when in fact, we just had a problem that needed to be dealt with, and it wasn't entirely all my fault. Mm, yeah. So the way that that translated into my mind was a lack of value, a lack of significance, a lack of worth, right? When you are kind of like bottom rung of the hierarchy ladder, it is very easy to tell yourself that you're not important enough or good enough or worthy enough. This is kind of like the bedrock of imposter syndrome. Many people of color are believing that they have imposter syndrome when in fact it's not imposter syndrome, it's racism, sexism. You live in supposed to be in that spot. And so you continue to tell yourself, I don't belong here. Right. And it's not that you don't know something, and it's not that you are lacking in any way. Black women are some of the most educated, I believe, the most educated demographic in the United States. I don't know. I might like you saying that. It's really annoying. I also have ADHD. You're going to have to go with it. Um, but it's not from lack of knowledge. It's not from lack of training. It's not from lack of experience. It is simply because the entire world tells us that we don't belong in positions of leadership. And so we tell ourselves, I don't belong there. Maybe I need to go get another degree and another degree and another degree. All because we keep telling ourselves that we're not worthy of the spot that God has put us in. So as I was looking at my marriage and then the church experiences and politics and workforce and just all of these different arenas where every single message was saying, be less, be smaller, be less, be smaller, don't make so much noise, don't talk so much. No, you're sitting in the back of the room and just all of these different things. I realized that there was a worth issue. I realized that the intensity of the pushback that I was getting as a woman needed to be matched with an intense pushback from me. And so unapologetically worthy AF became that pushback. It's not about vulgarity and cussing up a storm or anything like that. It's simply about taking the intensity of the suppression of my identity that I experienced over the course of my life and pushing back on it and say, no, I am absolutely worthy. I am worthy of every single thing that God decides to give me. I am so worthy that I am worthy AF. And the way that it's used, my heart is saying that is intense. That is powerful. It is a hard push, right? Because if you think about any context in which AF is used, what is the purpose? Bigness. I am tired AF. Like, I'm not just tired, I am tired AF. You know, like, you know what I mean? It's big, right? So that was it. So that's the gist of why I named it that way. And truly I thought I was crazy. I prayed about it. I was like, Lord, this does not make any sense. Why are we doing this? Um, but it stuck. And so I have a journal out that is called Unapologetically Worthy AF. I don't even know if I have a copy nearby. Nope, I don't think I do. See you later. But as I was doing it, I realized that women need to know that they're worthy AF. And it's not just about the pushback, but even layered on top of that, it's identifying the journey that Yeshua took so that we would know how valuable and worthy we were. Because if my life was worthy of Yeshua's life, is there anything that I am not worthy of in this world? Nothing, right? And so something that I teach my clients all the time, like, you are worthy of everything. I tell myself that when I feel like I'm doing too much or I need to be smaller again, I tell myself I'm worthy of everything, everything. Because there is nothing on this earth that is worth more. So if God puts me in the room, I am meant to be in that room, and they will get the full weight of what that means to have me in the room, good and bad. Usually not bad, but if it's needed. And so that is the point of Unapologetically WorthyAF, to intensely push back and remind the world and ourselves that I am worthy of everything that God chooses to give me, every seat that I am put in, every room that I am allowed into, every room that God has already positioned me in, because my seat was sitting there waiting for me. I'm worthy of that. And so are you. So that is the gist of Unapologetically WorthyAF. Now, we are in an interesting spot in our country, in the world, because a lot of us are thinking quite a bit about the current presidential election that's going on. And I feel like a lot of it is getting wrapped up in these little micro subtopics, you know? And the micro subtopics can distract from what the bigger topics are. We have a social structure in the US. We have a social hierarchy. We have a social ladder that all of us understand. We might not actually put words on it, but we know, you know that the wealthy person in the room is probably going to be the one to have the last say. You know that if a short man and a tall man are competing for something, most people are going to lean. And it's right or wrong. These are just cultural issues that we have to deal with. There's privilege, hierarchy, status that is attached to certain characteristics, ethnicity, race, color. All of those things are playing into all of these social ladder climbs and moves and competition, right? When you think of a leader, who's the image that pops into your mind? For those around people of color, it's going to be very easy to see a person of color in that spot. But for those who have not been around people of color, and the only leaders you've ever seen are those in politics and on TV, and within your white family, it's going to be really hard to see a person of color in that spot. That brings us to this election. We have a wealthy, older, white man. Wealth is a hierarchy status. Age is a hierarchy status. Race is a hierarchy status. Gender is a hierarchy status. And unfortunately, one person has all of the buckets in place for him to be considered a leader, except leadership qualities. It's crazy to me that, like, you can literally absolutely fail at leadership and you can still be seen as a leader in the United States as long as you're a wealthy white man, especially if you're old. It's so strange. It is so strange. Because even when we know better, we have the hardest time doing better. To say, dude, you're heavily and severely unqualified. Even in a circumstance where you are matched up with someone who absolutely is qualified on paper, who has done the job as VP, but you can't see her there. And why can't you see her there? Because she is a Black woman. Now, as a Black woman, I wish I could say that for me, it's so easy to see her there. but it's not. I went to all white schools when I was growing up. And so I went to, well, let me run that back. I went to really bougie, wealthy white schools. And one of the things um, that my personal spiritual and emotional recovery journey had to take me through was identifying why I believe the things that I believe. Because let me tell you a story. So I think I was like 4. And back then, we didn't have to sit in the back seat and we didn't have car seats for 4-year-olds. So I was sitting in the front seat of my mom's car, and my mom was going to a store. And so she pulled up to the store and she let me sit in the front seat. And she ran inside. Um, and this guy came out, and it was a black man. And he's starting to walk toward the car, and I locked the doors. My mom was walking out behind him, and so she heard the doors lock. And she's like, "Oh, did you just lock the door?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Why did you lock the door?" I'm like, "Because I was scared. I didn't want him uh, to, like come in the car. Like I was scared." And she's like, "So you're scared of a black man walking past your car?" I'm like, "Yeah." And gone, "Oh, it's cool." The message had already been given to me. They're dangerous. I had to wrestle with that and come to grips with that. And it was not easy. Sorry. It was not easy. Um, because even at 4 years old, the messaging was already in there. It wasn't anything that anybody had said explicitly. Like I didn't really watch the news or anything, but it was something that culture had taught me. Black men are dangerous, right? There are so many subliminal messages that we have all of the time, like all of the time. And there's only so much that we can do about those things if we're not willing to face them. This is where the coaching comes in. You don't understand yourself as well as you think that you do. There are belief systems and thought processes that are happening on the inside of you that you're not really aware of. That's just normal. If my mom hadn't asked me that day if I locked the door and questioned why I locked the door, I would have never thought about it again. I would have been like, well, yeah, if I felt nervous, he's dangerous, I'm going to lock the doors. Was it wrong for me to lock the doors? Of course not. I'm sure my mom was totally okay with me locking the doors. But she wanted me to be aware of what I was doing and why, and it forced me to challenge those thoughts because it wasn't that he had done anything. There was literally no reason to lock it other than I was 4 years old and he was a grown black man. But I didn't do that when I was in suburban areas and white families or white men even walked past my car. I did that in the hood. And so if I can have to confront and wrestle with my core beliefs about people of color, you do too. So as you're thinking about the election that's coming up, there are a ton of issues on the table, for sure. But I want you to be for real, for real. Like for real, for real. Is this really about the issue? Or is it something deeper? And honestly, I don't know if you're going to necessarily be able to tap into that on your own because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of honesty that a lot of us are not equipped to do because America does not favor honesty. And so most of us are not very good at it. But I want you to ask the question, can I see her there? What about her history says that she could be there? Could she thrive in that space? Could she represent our country well? Could she make decisions on behalf of our country? I think that she could. It does absolutely not. But I am positive is a racist, adamantly does not like people of color, has actively tried to ruin the lives of people of color in many, many, many different ways for those who do. Can he handle representing our country well? Can I be safe under his leadership? Can I support someone who is an admitted rapist? I can't. I am absolutely biased. Race and sexual assault are kind of like deal breakers for me. But seeing a Black woman in that space should not be something to turn the table and be like, oh gosh, I will totally take the racist and the rapist because I can't deal with her. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now. So, for those of you that are people of color, I pray that you will also investigate what it is that you're seeing on the inside of you. Are you struggling with imposter syndrome? Because if you have imposter syndrome, you're going to have a real hard time supporting her because you don't think she belongs there either. If you are a person of non-color, I pray that you will investigate what's going on the inside of you. What are the messages that you heard growing up? What are the things that your family talks about over the dinner table? What are the belief systems that have always been in place that you just consider to be normal and you stop challenging or never did? Because a person's race does not determine whether or not they can lead. And that's duh. That doesn't even make any sense. But it absolutely can impact whether or not you can see them there. And that's worth investigating. I learned, thankfully, God taught me that I am unapologetically worthy AF of everything. And so where God puts me, I'm going to go and I'm going to bring it. But I'm going to do it however it is that it needs to happen, whether it is light and fluffy and soft and gentle or a little bit of holy hothead energy. Who knows? But I pray that you will come to understand that you are also unapologetically worthy AF. Regardless of your gender, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your race, you are worthy AF too. Hopefully that self-love will help you to see other people more clearly. So I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. That was nice. That was fun. It's my first live and I did it. Yay. Okay. All right. So my name is Coach OM, Holy Hothead. You can find me at allmidwell.com. Feel free to come chime in my group on Skool called Holy Hotheads Lead Well. It is a group that is a spinoff from my podcast, and it is kind of where all of the holy hotheads of the world are going to converge. I am super excited about it. I cannot wait for the conversations we will have in that space. It is very new, so that is why I'm talking in the future because we're still in baby form, but it's going to be awesome. So, welcome to the fam, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.